Because I was thinking about what to teach, and I was listening to last week's sermon, which we talked a little bit about the choice of intimacy, and I realized that choosing intimacy is difficult. Like, I knew that, but like it was made clear to me this week, right? Like how difficult it is to choose being intimate with God and not being self-sustained. I gave you guys a challenge last week to look at the birds, right? We talked about Matthew, I think we were in Matthew 6, 24, 25, and 26, where Jesus tells them to look at the birds of the air, that God takes care of them. And we issued a challenge to look at the birds. Well, I did that this week. How many of y'all did your homework? Show of hands. Who was looking at the birds this week? Stop for a moment and looked at the birds. If you didn't, it's okay. I understand. I struggled with it too. I realized that my life was too busy this week. I realized that I actually had to be intentional about paying attention to what God sustains. Even when I got those messages in the Telegram, I was like, you know what, y'all right. Quest sent a message like, this is a beautiful day. Y'all should go outside. Like, it was great. And I was like, yeah, we should do that. And I sat on the porch for like 5 minutes and got distracted. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got distracted. I would sit on the porch and I would have this idea in my mind, like, I got it. You know what I'm saying? We're going to go out, look at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to watch the birds. It was a nice day. Like, I could sit on the porch. And you know what I did this week? No joke. Charmaine's not here to attest to this, but like, I literally took my TV from inside my house, put it on my porch, and played video games on my porch. No joke. Couldn't make this up. The week that I tell y'all, go outside and look at what God has sustained, I play video games on my porch, dog. That's what happened. And so like, I had to deal with the idea that, oh my God, if this is difficult for me, right? And I'm not like the most spiritual in our group. I know I'm the pastor, but I'm not the most spiritual in our group. If this is difficult for me, everybody having an issue with this. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a thing. And so I started thinking about it, and it's like, okay, why is intimacy difficult? And I came up with three things. On why intimacy is difficult. Give me a second, I'll pull it up for you. Well, you guys won't see it, but people here will see it. There's three things. It's not efficient, it's not predictable, and it's never complete. It's not efficient, it's not predictable, and it's never complete. And that's a problem for me, right? Because I like efficiency. I like to be able to take some time, maximize that time to get the maximum output. That's efficiency, right? Like, that's like me using my time correctly to be able to get a maximum output. But what was brought to my attention is that like, relationships aren't efficient. They feel like huge time wasters most of the time, right? Okay, so I'm gonna need you to rock with me for a second because I can't see y'all faces, so I'm assuming that you don't agree with me. So I'm gonna talk to you like you don't agree with me. Have you ever been on the phone with somebody and it just felt like you were holding the phone? Like, what are we talking about actually? Do we need to be on the phone? Okay, maybe it's not an interpersonal relationship for you. Here's one for you that I know all of y'all gonna be able to feel. Have you ever been in a meeting that could have been an email? I know that some of you have. There you go. I know some of you have, because I've held meetings that could have been the email.
I know.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've held meetings that could have been an email. So I know that you've experienced it. Relationship isn't efficient, and it isn't designed to be that way, because you have to spend time to grow a relationship. And so that time that you spent doing what seemed like nothing, you were being present with that person. There was some interactions there that felt like wasted energy, but even in that wasted energy, there's a memory that's created. There's some energy exchange that's happening. Remember last week I told you that the first thing to slip in intimacy is private time? And the reason that that's the first thing to slip is because it's the one thing that's not efficient. Especially when we think about our God situation, right? If God is ever present, why do I need to spend private time? Why do I need to carve it out? For what? He's there all of the time. And so it feels almost like prayer is unproductive, because I can pray on the go. We can talk while I'm doing something else. But how many times have you been in a conversation with somebody who was actually not present in the conversation? Isn't it the most frustrating thing in the world? You wouldn't even call that quality time. Even if you were with your spouse, somebody that you cared about, maybe it was your mom, maybe it was your brother, your sister, and they were having a conversation with somebody else while trying to have a conversation with you. Like, you don't feel like we're in relationship together. But you want to keep that like efficient. And I realized that like I'm obsessed with it being efficient because I'm obsessed with control. I need to be able to control this thing. And efficiency only applies to people who care about time. God sits outside of time. And so everything is efficient for God because time is not a factor. For us, we're trying to maximize our time efficiently. And so like, God, I need you to fit in this box. Here's the window. And it's not to suggest that like you can't get anything out of that window. Don't go that far. But what I'm saying is, here's the window. This is what I need to accomplish in this window. Once it's done, then I can move on. Right? And that's kind of what the assignment felt like for me. And it's one of the reasons that I didn't accomplish it. I didn't do well with that this week. So it's not efficient, right? It's not efficient. What was the other one? It's not predictable. Intimacy is not predictable. I don't know what would be accomplished for sure in my private time with God. In the intimacy with God, I'm not sure what God is going to do in my life. So because it's not predictable, and I can't really gauge it, it's hard for me to engage with it. Right? And it goes back to relationships, right? Like all of it is the same thing with relationships. And you can point to it in any relationship that you've ever had. If the person that you're in relationship with is not predictable, you don't really want to be around them long. You can't trust unpredictability. Right? Like, you don't want to be in a relationship with somebody who's completely unpredictable. Like, I have no idea what you're doing. But then we turn around and like, we're okay, God, whatever you want to do, Lord, please, Lord, take it. Whatever you want to do, Jesus, take the wheel. Lying. Straight lying. Jesus, I do not want you to take the wheel. Unless you got the GPS and I put in the address. That's how we live. That's how I live my life. It's not y'all. Y'all holier than me. I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not mad. But that's how I live my life. Like, I might be saying, Jesus, take the wheel. But if he driving, I need the GPS. I need to know which way we going. And if he take a wrong turn, we and him having a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like but intimacy, there's a trust that goes into that, right? Again, go back to relationship. If you're in the car with somebody that you don't fully trust, you need to know everything, right? But conversely, if you're in the car with somebody that you trust, even if you don't know where you're going, you can be comfortable enough to rest. You can fall asleep, not knowing exactly where you're going, which direction you're going, none of that. You don't need none of that information if you trust the person. And that trust is built in the intimacy. It's crazy. Like me and Charmaine's relationship, when it comes to like each other driving, we have learned that the way that it has to work for us is that whoever isn't driving either needs to be asleep or playing on their phone. Big facts, right? Like sleep, because we can't help but to direct the other person, especially if we think we know where we're going. You probably should slow down here. Make that turn. Why are you going this way? These are the things that happen. You know what I'm saying? And I like her a lot. No wonder when God tells me to go left, I have some hesitancy. No wonder when he tells me to leave that relationship, I'm like, nah, bro. Nah, I mean, I hear you. I see where you might get that information, but it's like, or that job, that security. When he tells us no, you probably need to leave that. Or conversely, we don't talk about this often. What if sometimes God tells you to lean into the job that you at? The one you thought that you was only going to be there for a minute? Literally, this is happening to me right now. There's a job that I thought that was temporary. Like the job that I have now, I thought was temporary, dog. And I have to he's like, no, you're going to be here for a minute. Lean in. Wait, what? Listen, how did this happen? And then week after week after week, there's another thing they want me to speak at, another thing they want me to do. And we don't talk about that as much as we talk about leaving the job, because leaving the job is sexy and dramatic, right? It's sexy and dramatic. Staying at the job, being committed to the thing, whew. My therapist told me this week, she said, what if you looked at the job as not temporary, but your career? And I wanted to cuss. Real talk. Right? But it's the predictability that it was a struggle for me. Because now I can't predict who I will become because I have to lean in. Because I only know myself as being transient. I only know myself as being temporary in spaces. Just there long enough to build a thing, set a culture, and I'm out. But I'm moving into a portion of my life where I have to lean in. And I don't have that predictability. I don't know what that means for me. And so that predictability becomes a problem. Because I can't predict what God is going to do next. And so intimacy becomes difficult, right? The last thing that makes intimacy difficult is that it's never complete. There's levels to it that you have to continue to go through. Right? There is no destination called intimacy. It just doesn't exist. Every time you think you're close, you realize there's more to know. Every time you think you got it, there's a switch up. Again, go back to relationships, because I need y'all to be able to make the connection. Go back to any relationship you've ever been in. not just the romantic ones. Go back to any friendship you've ever been in. When the intimacy becomes real and it's close, and don't let y'all have been friends for years, somebody grew. Y'all might have both grown and realized that your friendship stopped a long time ago, and y'all just been going through the motions. That like the intimacy never actually was happening during that time. Y'all was going through the motions. And so you thought you were close, but y'all had grown so far apart that when some adversity hits, you realize, oh snap, we're different people. The way I approach this thing is not the way you're approaching this thing. And the way you're approaching this thing is not a way that I can get down with. And so you gotta adjust, right? Or you've leaned into a relationship and y'all been intimate, and then you realize one day, even though we've been intimate and close, we haven't been introduced to the new versions of each other. It doesn't mean that these new versions of each other can't coexist, right? Can't be close together, but even in the intimacy, I don't know this new version of you. I don't know the God that I don't need to get me out of a financial situation. I don't know the God who has already provided and wants to do something different. Don't know that God. And so I get to a place where financially I'm stable. I'm not like rolling in it, but I'm not worried about where my next meal is coming from, and I pay all my bills on time. Right? There might be a little bit more money at the end of the month than there is month, which is great. But now that I'm out of survival mode, I don't know the God who I need in survival mode. And so the God that I have been so intimate with, and knowing how to like approach and the prayers, the types of prayers that I pray, now there's another level of intimacy that we got to go to. Again, freaks me out because this is not efficient. We did a whole lot to even get here. And so you telling me I got to do a whole lot more to get there, and it's not predictable, right? You see why I struggled this week. And maybe it's why we all struggle. I'm not going to put that on you because maybe you don't struggle with your relationship with God like I do. I'm the pastor of a church, the leader of a men's group, and a business owner. And I be struggling. Real rat raw, your brother be struggling. And, you know, I was looking for scripture today to teach y'all about, because I didn't know what I was going to teach y'all about. But it hit me after having a conversation with Kat that maybe tonight was testimony, and I needed to just let y'all know what I was struggling with, so that you know that not all is lost because you're struggling. Because even though intimacy is not efficient, it is productive. Just because like you don't see it as an efficient thing doesn't mean that it's not producing things in your life. And it is the very things that you need to be where you are. Always. Without fail. It's always going to be productive. It's never wasted motion. Intimacy with God is never wasted time. Even if it means that you have to sit outside long enough to be uncomfortable and get past being uncomfortable. I'm talking to Dylan. Sitting outside or standing in a space long enough to get past being bored. Or sitting outside long enough to realize that my mind has been distracted and give myself enough time and grace to bring it back to focus. It's all productive, right? Even though it's not predictable, it is deeply personal. And so there's a trust there that is built in the intimacy that's really just between me and God. Your pastor can't dictate it for you. Your community can't dictate it for you. Church mothers can't do it. Ministers can't do it. Nobody can do it for you. It's personal. And the unpredictability only has to do with your trust, not that God isn't predictable, because God knows what God's doing. You just don't. And that's okay. Just rest. Pretend you're in the car with somebody that you trust. And they said, hey, I'm coming to kidnap you for a day. Let's just go kick it. That initial hesitancy is like, I don't know where we're going. I got things to do. But I've never had a bad time when somebody just came and kidnapped me for a day. Never. Not somebody I trusted. So pretend for a minute that God wants to kidnap you from your life and just rest. He wants to kidnap you a little bit from your thoughts. Just rest. Just get in the car, play on your phone a little bit, put on some music that you like, and rest. Maybe you need to fall asleep on the ride. Let the fact that it's not predictable be the reason that you lean in further instead of the reason that you run away. Talking to Dylan. Let it be something that you allow for it to lean in further to work through your trust instead of something that you run away from. And it's beautiful that it's not over, ever. Allow that thing to be beautiful to you. That it's consistent, right? That it is a thing that like, man, I don't know where this is going, but I'm glad it's going. Look at it as an opportunity. An opportunity for you to get to know more about you. An opportunity for you not to just get to know more about God, but like allowing that to be the thing that introduces you to a new version of you. Because that's really what you need, right? I'm hoping that we can try again this week. And if y'all are okay with me trying again this week, because like epic fail this past week, let's just try it again one more week, right? Let's try to look at the birds one more time. Let's see if something comes up different. This is the way that like the pastor gets to tell you, I didn't do my homework well this week. Let's try again. The only way that I can get away with that is tell you how terrible I did. So that's what this was. 20 minutes of me telling you, the epic fail. Let's try again. And it is grace that allows that. We love it. We're grateful for it. All right, y'all.